Good day, friends. I'm going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was an EU leader named Ursula. She prided herself on her humanity, her defense of democracy, her strength against evil forces. But her pet hate was Russians. Russians were always attacking other countries because their country is so poor. And they eat babies too. Everyone knows that. She hated them because they were not really in Europe, more Asia than Europe, so they couldn't get into her club. So one day she asked her friendly EU partners to come up with some ideas about how she could portray the Russians in a bad light whilst flying to Bulgaria. And they came up with a real corker of an idea. What if they tell the world that Russians carried out a cyber attack on their plane? Yes, said Ursula, I like that. But better still, let's call it a hybrid attack. It's more of a buzzword. That's like a direct attack on the heart of Europe. And whilst enjoying the flight, she put the finishing touches to her story. As the purpose of her visit to Bulgaria was to discuss defence readiness and European solidarity against Russian aggression, those evil Russians again, her fake narrative fitted in perfectly.
Putin has not changed and he will not change. He is a predator. He can only be kept in check through strong deterrence.
After the plane landed, Ursula's bosom BFF, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, was quick to voice his outrage and indignation at yet another red hybrid attack.
An assassination attempt on a big industrialist in one of NATO allied countries.
And then the story was released to the whole world in an explosion of headlines, carefully coordinated by the fake news industrial complex of the EU. Was there any part of the world that was not aware of von der Leyen's plane incident and those evil baby eaters? Well, this seemed like a fake story from the start. The EU has been doing quite a lot of domestic weaving recently, and this was one almighty spin. Timed to coincide with President Putin's spotlight visit to China. But the issue here for von der Leyen and her willing conspirators is that though they may deem some civilian members of the EU community as stupid, there are, just by reason of sheer numbers, quite a lot of individuals who aren't. There were quite a few comments about the Times video.
All bullshit, the flight was only 9 minutes late and GPS was working all the time. Total crap, her plane just took off late from Poland. Fake news.
So this led to a little investigation, and particularly an article by the Brussels Signal. And guess what was found? A massive hole in the story that points beyond any reasonable doubt to von der Leyen's complicity and, as she's the EU president, one could say, intent to mislead and dupe the EU and indeed the world audience she commands. Where's the proof? I hear you saying, where's the proof? Before we look at the lies, what allegedly happened with her plane? Von der Leyen travelled on a chartered Dassault Falcon 900 LX jet operated by Lux Aviation Belgium. It flew from Warsaw Chopin Airport to Plovdiv Airport, Bulgaria. As the plane approached Plovdiv on August the 31st, 2025, it suffered a suspicious GMS jamming incident, widely suspected to be linked to Russia. The electronic navigation systems were disrupted, forcing the pilot to rely on paper maps and ground-based navigation aids to land safely. The aircraft reportedly circled the airport for around 60 to 90 minutes before touching down at Plovdiv. There are three areas of von der Leyen's narrative that break down. Number one, the maths don't work. The scheduled flight time from Warsaw to Plovdiv was 1 hour 48 minutes. The plane arrived about 9 minutes late. If, as reported by numerous outlets, the plane was circling for 60 to 90 minutes, then surely it would arrive 60 to 90 minutes late, not 9 minutes late. The time difference between Warsaw and Plovdiv is 1 hour, but that does not affect the calculation if the plane was stated to be only 9 minutes late, as explained by Brussels signal. Another point is that why would they say circling for 60 to 90 minutes? Surely they would know precisely how long the plane was circling. The second point is no other aircraft in the area were affected. This was von der Leyen's claim that the jet lost GPS, but Flight Radar 24 data showed other planes nearby still had working GPS signals. And as for von der Leyen's plane, the aircraft's transponder reported good GPS signal quality from take-off to landing, according to Flight Radar 24. And this challenges claims of a full GPS blackout. Flight Radar 24's GPS jamming map, which uses Navigation Integrity Category NIC, values to track signal disruptions and has been instrumental in monitoring such incidents globally, lending weight to a fake narrative. Third point is the logic doesn't hold up. If we do accept the story that the plane's GPS was jammed for over an hour, that does still not explain why the plane would circle over a deserted airport for all that time. Let's check the weather at the time of landing. So, no problem with the weather. Let's see if the airport was busy. They only have 1 to 2 flights a day. So, on a clear night with multiple alternative navigational aids, notwithstanding the naked eye and airport lighting, why on earth would a plane be in a holding position circling above an empty airport? The priority surely is to land the aircraft if there is any perceived safety risk. Can anyone explain that? Let me know. After the alleged incident, we have a few reactions. Batesman emphasised that while jamming poses risks, potentially increasing the chance of collisions, modern aircraft rely on multiple navigation systems, reducing immediate danger. Similarly, Carlos Perez Ferrer, an aviation analyst, has pointed out that GPS disruptions, while concerning, were often overstated for political purposes. He referred to the EC as drama queens regarding the latest incident. There are normal procedures to deal with it. Almost any pilot nowadays has experienced GPS jamming and spoofing. It's a pain in the ass, but not complicated to deal with. There are even maps in real time. Russia's Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has already denied involvement, dismissing the accusations as incorrect in a statement to the Financial Times on September the 1st. Adriana Podesta, Deputy Chief Spokesperson for the European Commission, said it could confirm the GPS was jammed. We have received information from the Bulgarian authorities that they suspect that this was due to blatant interference by Russia, she said. When journalists pressed for detail, they could only refer to those who have really first-hand information, in particular the Bulgarians. So she could not give details of the flight time either. Only that they could only refer to those who have really first-hand information.
And the latest
in
news
particular
is that
the
Bulgaria
Bulgarians.
U-turns on the
So
claim
she could
that
not
her
give
plane
details
was
of the flight
targeted by
time either.
Moscow.
Only that it took
No evidence of
considerably longer than
prolonged
scheduled.
interfering. And
or
the latest
jamming
news
of
is that
GPS
Bulgaria
signal.
U-turns
We
on the
also
claim
have
that
the
her plane
overflight
was
map
targeted
by
by
FlightAware,
Moscow.
which completely
No
debunks
evidence
the
of
idea that the
prolonged
plane was flying around
interfering
the
or
airport.
jamming of the GPS signal.
So we see the porky pies are quite nicely laid out on von der Leyen's banquet table. If von der Leyen frames Russians in a racist, hostile, I suppose, or inferior light, she is in direct conflict with European Union Article 21, which legally prohibits discrimination on the basis of race or ethnic origin. Not only did she make unproven accusations against Russia, but she and her cohorts manufactured a complete propaganda exercise to dupe the world.
It could have been the Ukrainians, couldn't it? A false flag. This takes hypocrisy, fake news, and the art of propaganda to new heights. Just as Ukraine openly deprives the Russian minorities of their cultural language and religious rights, von der Leyen spreads and manufactures a message that reeks of racial bias.
And to those of you who follow, admire and fawn over every word Eurocrats like von der Leyen utter, do you accept this most recent lie? Was the lie all in good faith, or perhaps it was just a one-off? Perhaps she just had a bad day and didn't really mean to cause a ruckus. The lies we hear every day from our so-called leaders have now reached new lows. The lies multiply, they are shameless, they are unbelievable. But people believe them. These people are beyond the law. They are so beyond the law, they feel untouchable. But their approach is childlike. They have interfered, manipulated, and invested so much in the Ukraine conflict, their whole existence depends on its outcome. That is why the only words any of us are ever going to hear from most European leaders until they are replaced is money for war, money for defense, money for Ukraine, hate Russia, hate Russians, hate everything Russian.